Hey everybody, welcome to the exciting conclusion of the review of section 5-3, polynomial functions. So the last thing we're going to talk about here is to look at a graph and describe its end behavior, determine whether it is an odd degree or even degree function, and also to state the number of real zeros. The information I will be referencing is coming from page 324. Okay, so as you're looking at this, watching this, you can have your book open to page 324, or if when you go to do the assignment for this section and things are a little unclear, refer to that page, and of course, you can always rewatch this lesson. So, looking at the first graph here, we are going to I think first, instead of talking about end behavior, I think we're going to just very quickly and easily determine whether something is of even degree or odd degree. If the arms, which is where the arrows end up pointing off of the graph, are pointing in the same direction, then you automatically know that the function is of even degree. Once again, these arms are both pointing down, and because they're pointing in the same direction, we know that it's of an even degree. Secondly, another thing to do very quickly and easily is to state the number of real zeros. We can identify the real zeros as to where the graph intersects or goes through the x-axis. So as we can see, the curve goes through the x-axis twice, and so there are two real zeros. Lastly, we'll talk about end behavior. So what we're talking about is what happens to the function as x approaches infinity and as x approaches negative infinity. So what's happening to the graph as we go all the way to the right and as we go all the way to the left. So what we have here, if we look at this first curve or this first function, we can see that if we're moving to the left, we can see that the graph is going down to negative infinity. So what we would say is that the function approaches negative infinity as x approaches negative infinity. So once again, this function is going down to negative infinity as x is approaching negative infinity or moving to the left. Sorry for squeezing this other piece of information in right here. And so what we have here on the other side of the function, we can see the function is also going down, which means the function is approaching negative infinity as x is approaching positive infinity. So as we are moving to the right, the graph is going down to negative infinity. Moving on to this next example. The first thing that we're going to look at is whether it's an even or an odd degree. Because the arms of the function are pointing in opposite directions, this one is pointing up, this one is pointing down. If they're pointing in opposite directions, that tells us the function is of odd degree. The next thing is we're going to count the number of real zeros. Once again, that is where the graph intersects or goes through the x-axis. As we can see, that happens 5 times, so there are 5 real zeros. Lastly, if we look at the behavior or the end behavior of this function, we see that this arm is pointing up towards positive infinity. So the function f will approach infinity as x approaches negative infinity. And once again, x is approaching negative infinity because we're moving to the right, or excuse me, to the left, which is where x goes to a negative infinity. And lastly, we can see here that the function is approaching negative infinity as we move out to the right here, or as x approaches infinity or positive infinity.